Yo guys, what's going on? This is Jason coming back with another review, and we're going to be taking a look at an older review I did back in my early days of YouTube called Sonic the Hedgehog. Most people refer it to Sonic 06, but for the sake of being different, we're going to call it something I used to call it, called Sonic Next Gen. That most people referred to it back then. So this game is a mixed bag in the Sonic community, but the common theme is it's a terrible game. But this is going to be a review that I like to call the good, the bad, and the ugly. And don't get mixed up with the Clint Eastwood film, because that film is just awesome. So, starting with the good.
You're not digging? If you shoot me, you won't see a cent of that money.
But before we start with the good, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, so you can be up to date with my other content, future content. So with the good, let's start with the good. I like the character models in this game. I think Sonic's design, Shadow, Silver, and even the side characters' design are really well done. I like their design, the way they look. I think their Sonic looks better than his, other games. Like personally, the other modern Sonic, models that they use. This one just looks really good. Sonic looks slick. He looks like Sonic, from the future. The Sonic we were supposed to get. I've always had a preference for this model, character model design, because this looks cool. Sonic looks straight up fucking cool. Same thing with Shadow. My boy Shadow looks better than ever. And of course, newcomer Silver looks awesome. He looks like something that would come from the future. And of course, the side characters look great also. Now, another good thing is the soundtrack. I like the soundtrack in this game. I think a lot of people do. Even the vocal soundtrack kicks ass. Now, with the soundtrack, one thing I like about the soundtrack from this game, that I think after this game, Sega just stopped doing this kind of soundtrack, is I like to call it the theatrical rocket action type of film soundtrack. This soundtrack has a action feel to it, but has a theatrical approach. That's something that we don't see anymore from Sega games. The Sega's going for more of the Skrillex and the kind of classical piano Sonic, and that's fine. That's good, but I've always preferred these type of soundtracks in the older ones because they have a sense of personality to it, and it just fits Sonic's world very well. Now, when it comes to the other good things, the maps. I like the maps in this game. The maps are big. There's a lot of ways to go, and honestly, it does really, especially when you're playing the multiplayer. This is one of the few Sonic games I think that the multiplayer is done right. Me and my friends usually play the game to see who can outbeat who in every map and outsmart who. If you're playing Silver, Shadow, and Sonic, it's always fun to mess around with your friends, especially the maps and the way the maps are designed. It really makes for a fun experience. That's something that I rarely see from a Sonic game, a mainstream Sonic game, a good multiplayer experience. Something I think 06 did right, with good map choices, and especially the character gimmicks. The story. Now, the other good things about this game is Shadow and Silver's story. I've always liked their story. I think starting with Shadow, my boy Shadow, his story theme is basically about, pretty much this character named Mephiles, that's also a loved character by the Sonic community, is, practically evil. He's on a mission to recover the Scepter of Darkness, and of course Eggman gets in the way. The Scepter of Darkness gets broken, and then Mephiles starts raising havoc and trying to convince Shadow to join his cause. That Shadow learns his lesson and factually, stands, by what he believes is right. Now, what I like about this theme of this Shadow's story is the team. You can see the story is about a team sticking together through tough times, especially tough times within, individualism. Meaning that Shadow, finds out that the government's going to betray him again, but this time they're going to do it to one of his friends, Omega. That you find out that Omega's confession to Shadow, kind of deepens the characters, and you find out that this team that we've grown to love has a lot of sympathy for each other, and basically it's these truths are these things that they find that are tearing the team apart. Even Rouge confesses that even if things go down, she will remain by Shadow's side. And I think that, with all that said and done, this entire team has been through a lot. And, it's basically the story is about a team sticking together, no matter what. And that's a great theme for this game, especially Shadow's character. Shadow's come from a pretty rough past, man, from the space colony arc, and to Shadow the Hedgehog not knowing what he is, now to here. Shadow's character really has a lot of humanity in this game. You see it, and towards the end it really shows that Shadow is a better character than what he was once before. Now with Silver's story, Silver's story is practically the theme of live and learn. He comes from the future, a doomed one, and he has a desperation to change it. But you find out that this creature Memphis that we have gotten accustomed to is not what he seems. He tries to get Silver to kill Sonic so he can end the Iblis trigger, but it's really just Memphis trying to get Silver to kill Sonic to get a problem out of his way so he can unleash the secret powers that lies within Elise. That actually is the Iblis creature we know of. So Meph was confused with this and eat time and destroy all things that exist. You find out later that Silver and of course his trusty sidekick Blaze find out that this creature Memphis isn't what he claims to be, and they find out what really is true throughout the game. So overall, that is the theme of Silver's story. I like it. It's about a character learning. It's a life experience type of story. It's about learning from mistakes and also learning what's real and what's not real. Something that I really think, something I think we all can relate to, being fooled and learning what's right and wrong. Or should I say the philosophy of right and wrong. Now we come to the bad, okay? The bad of the story, starting with the glitches, is really the theme to this game. The glitches in this game are kind of random, but they're not as bad as Sonic Heroes, man. Sonic Heroes just had a whole fucking level of bad, a whole new level of bad. This here is just, the glitches are there, but you can find a way to bypass them. Now, of course, you can't do this with Rouge, sadly, because every time Rouge flies, she gets stuck to a wall, and sometimes you can get off the wall depending on what part of the wall you're on. But overall, in order to get off the wall, you have to kill yourself, and that's just, to me, bullshit. And another thing is the loading times. The loading times are annoying in this game, at least for me. The other things I can forgive, but the loading times take forever, or at least they feel like it takes forever. And the loading times happen in every damn scene, okay? Not scene, the cutscenes, but gameplay, going to another hub world. It's just annoying. And I think the next thing is, of course, number one, in my, most people's Sonic's story. Sonic's story in this is just out of place, man. The whole romantic approach, this doesn't work for Sonic. And Sonic is about straight edge, adventure, freedom type of stuff. He's not into the whole mushy thing. This whole mushy thing reminds me of something you would watch in a girl's anime show, And I think with Sonic's story is that what's really interesting is they had the Final Fantasy approach. Now I don't mind that. I think that's a pretty cool idea because after all, Final Fantasy did come out a couple during this time, and fine, it's cool. I like it. It doesn't bother me. But the fact that Elise always gets kidnapped is just it makes a lousy story. Okay, and I think with Sonic's the opportunity that Sega had was missed at least with Sonic. Sadly, it was Sonic's level. Now another issue I think was too, I forgot to mention, is the Mach speed. A lot of people were annoyed by the Mach speed. Personally, for me, I wasn't annoyed. There's a learning curve to it, but apparently there's people who just don't have the patience, and I guess it can be frustrating when you're at the tornado level. I get it. But at the same time, it's just, to me that's a minor problem, but, that's just one of them. And the last thing I think that really nailed the coffin that divided Sonic fans, I think it was this game, what actually was this game, was the last story with the whole kiss. Now keep in mind, with all this romance and kiss back then in high school, I laughed at it, man. To me, it was dumb. I was a teenager back then. I didn't care for the whole romance. I was into girls, but I wasn't into the whole romance type of thing. To me, I just rolled my eyes and laughed. I was like, okay, whatever. And then they moved on. And, of course, Elise brings back Sonic by kissing him, and then they, all three Hedgehogs go Super Saiyan, and they defeat the Iblis creature. Now, one thing I think I'll have to mention is, look, the whole romance story with Sonic, Sega, you made Sonic is in you put Sonic out there not to be into girls. He runs from Amy. I know he was 16, but to me it was very lazy. And honestly, it was just a whole human thing, and it was unnecessary. It didn't offend me, but it was just unnecessary. Now with the bad, put aside, let's talk about the ugly.
Bloody! It's all us, bloody!
Now, the ugly really doesn't lie with, the things I mentioned. This relies with the execution and what the impression of this game before the game came out. Now, to understand what I'm about to tell you, some of you guys won't be able to understand. Maybe you're too young to know it, but for people like me, back then, this game was hyped. This game was extremely hyped to be like the next Sonic game, the next best Sonic game. And keep in mind, this Sega was trying to go for remaking I guess you could say remaking their first Sonic the Hedgehog. This game was marketed that way, and that was exciting because the original Sonic the Hedgehog will always remain a kind of classic favorite to me. And this Sega trying to do that just amazed me. And the fact that before the game came out, we had screenshots from GamePro and other magazines like Play and things advertising this game heavily, getting people hyped and excited for what they saw. And of course this did excite me because seeing Sonic in this new form and also Shadow and the new character just looked so cool. To me it was like, this game cannot be bad. And even the E3 trailers got people hyped. I think the ugly side of it is that we were all hyped and Sega rushed it out. And I think even with if you fix the bugs, it wouldn't really fix the game because you still have the story problem with Sonic. And I think that's the sad part of it. The game was overhyped and it got people hyped to a point where when the game came out, it was it let a lot of people down. For me, it let me down, but not to a point where I hate the game like Sonic Heroes. But I was affected by it because I had a lot of hope for it. Overall, the game is a mixed bag. There's some people who like it, there's some people who hate it, and there's some people who just don't give a damn. But I think this game is a good example of, at least to learn from. Okay. Now, after this game, this is one thing I think Sega did after they did this game. They never did a actual true 3D like 100% 3D Sonic game. This was the last 3D Sonic game they ever did. And then they went for more of the linear, corridor pathway type of gameplay. It's alright, but I prefer the type of, adventure style game. And I think that's the reason why Sega stopped doing 3D games, because Sonic 06 was that kind of like, it took a lot out of them, and apparently they just, kind of didn't want to make any more mistakes. And it's sad, because it's a sad story, because this game did have a lot of potential, and it was hyped to be excited. It was, that's before the game was put out to be this failure. This game was pushed out to be really like the next best thing. This was going to be like the next best Sonic game. And, the advertisements showed, and I believed it. Everyone believed it. It's just sad to see that. So my score of this game is going to be a simple 3.4. It's in between a good and bad game. I can't give it a real score because there's something I like about this game. I don't hate it, but there's an appealing sense of it, and I just got to give it in between. Anyways, guys, I hope you liked this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and I hope to see you later, and keep in touch with my other content. Anyways, adios, guys.